Hey everybody. So welcome to House Calls, the podcast. Matt, how you doing?
Ty, I'm well. How are you?
Good. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're gonna pull this off without any technical difficulties.
Yeah, that'd be good. That big red button that says record, I just
Yes.
pressed that. So we're gonna see how that goes.
So
Must have been broken before.
our last guest was Brian Martin, which was great. We went an hour and 15 minutes where we forgot to record. And I thought the podcast went great. And I started thinking that part of the reason why it went so great is I think we were warmed up. Like we
Oh,
got through that first part and I thought it was really good, besides the fact that my eyes started fading towards the end and I was getting delirious.
you did, and I went to sleep for a little bit in there because it was getting late. It was like 8:30 by the time we finished.
So we are beginners at this podcasting thing. And Brian mentioned that the first thing he was going to do the next day was listen to the podcast to learn how to get better at it. And I just realized I say so all the time, as I'm like Peter Gabriel. So just keep going with it. So I'm gonna see if I did again. I'm gonna work on
Well, you know what
eliminating
mine
that.
is? Mine is
What? Yeah,
you know,
I think like
and
that's
I
a pretty
hate it.
common one.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Not but I know.
So now I've been listening to like famous podcasters. Do they eliminate it? But this was something I started thinking about was why did we start instead of having like a warm up period where we chit chat for 5-10 minutes before we hit record? Why do we start doing it immediately? And the reason is because episode 17, we had Steve Brown, the orthopedic
Right?
surgeon, on. Super excited for that episode
Oh,
because he's a great storyteller. I knew it would be great. He passed away this past week, but I'm telling you, what a great guy. And if you're looking for a podcast to listen to, his enthusiasm for life, I would listen to that. But I have a ton of great memories with conversations with Steve. But the reason I say to hit play right away is because that episode, he literally logged on, came on guns blazing, talking to you, telling
right.
stories, making fun of both of us in a nice way. Like, making fun of you while he's encouraging you. And I'm
Unlike
like,
us.
I was like, you two shut up. We need to hit record. We're missing good stuff here. So
He
it's just a pleasant memory of Steve. And that was one of our best podcasts, but definitely our first good podcast. And it was all him. Just totally relaxed
Absolutely,
us and was
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, we're only as good as our guests, so when we suck, it means our guests really suck.
Yes.
But, Steve Brown, what an inspirational guy, what a great attitude on being a doctor, a
Mhm.
great attitude on being in life, and just, what a loss is the easiest way to say it.
Huge loss, but what a privilege that we got to know him. You very briefly during a podcast, but he's definitely one of those guys that once you know him, you know him.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I texted him a couple times, after that, and he was always right back to me, "Hey, baby, great to hear from you," I just love that enthusiasm, and
Yeah.
I love that he called everybody baby, so,
Yes. Yeah. And he called everybody that.
I know.
So did you hear about my dog?
No.
Yesterday I was out on the trails, just walking like we always do. Daisy Duke by my side, Jesse James 5 yards, 10 yards away, way back where nobody could be, where streams are and stuff. And she saw a deer and she went after that deer. And she chases deer all the time, but this time she was gaining on her. And then she's out of my sight. I'm hearing
Uh-oh.
the deer crying. I'm hearing her barking. And I then have to run quarter mile with Daisy Duke beside me to catch her. And it's like two dogs playing. Like she's like patting the
Oh,
deer,
ooh,
jumping back. I think the deer was terrified, but the deer
yeah.
was okay. But my dog basically tackled a deer and took down a deer, which my
Did you
dog
wait,
said,
wait, did you see it tackle? You didn't see
yes,
it, oh, okay,
I
alright,
saw her
I need
take
to
it
see
down.
video,
Yeah.
alright.
So I did not have my phone with me. But when she got, so what happened was then she was across the stream. Then she came back to me panting and crazy, and I thought I could calm her down. She went right back to the deer, basically tracking the deer. Daisy Duke and I then crossed the stream, followed her track. It was crazy. Now, my dog who passed away, Samson, tackled two deer, but Samson was a
Right, as a
bigger
bull
dog.
yeah,
But the funny
and
thing is they have that primitive reflex to chase the deer. My two dogs, because they're cool, have the primitive reflex to take down the deer, but then they don't know what to do with it. Like
right,
there's no biting or anything. It's like they're playing with it like it's another dog. It's
right.
insane.
And just for everyone to clarify, Daisy Duke is not your nickname for Anne, and Daisy
Yes.
Duke is not somebody you meet in the woods, right?
Daisy Duke had no desire to
Yeah, right.
chase the deer at all.
Daisy
She
Duke's like a house cat.
When we couldn't find Jesse James, which was a little bit scary, once the deer got up, ran away, Jesse James chased after it. We couldn't find Jesse James. Daisy Duke was willing to help me track Jesse James. You could follow through the ferns and
Right.
stuff, but like then she would stop at each little stream and be like, "This is as far as I go," and I'd be like, "No, no, no, we got to cross the stream," and then she'd hesitantly jump across the stream.
Oh,
I do want to say no deer were
cool.
hurt in this story because I'm worried about getting canceled.
You are so worried about getting canceled.
But the reason I'm bringing it up because we had a pet challenge, and I feel like maybe Jesse James didn't understand what we meant by challenge. We just meant
Right.
spend time together, go out on the trail. Doesn't mean you have to like take down a deer.
Show us, what it can do.
Yeah.
Our guest is here.
Oh, great. We are talking to reader extraordinaire Lisa Lyman.
Okay. Let's introduce Lisa Lyman to the podcast and bring her in.
So, Lisa, we mentioned you before as Lisa D. Reading is fundamental, and then you mentioned that is probably trademarked. Reading is fundamental, and that we're going to
Yes.
get sued. But then the lawyer next to you didn't seem to think
It
it
was
was too
fine.
much of a problem.
No. Maybe he doesn't know how big you guys are.
Baby, that's so true. We've got a lot of people don't know how big we are. We keep telling them, but no one understands. But Lisa, welcome to the podcast, and we are happy to have you with us.
Great.
And
I'm glad to be here.
Are you?
Yes.
All right, we'll ask that again at the end and see how that goes.
Okay.
And so I think the most important thing is that your name is no longer Lisa D. You've
Correct.
been Lisa Lyman for what, like a couple of years now?
25 years.
25 years. And in that time, you've had what, two kids?
5 kids.
Five. I'm not good with the math. Not good with the math.
It's all right.
2 kids. All right. Sorry. 5 kids again? Wow,
Yes.
that's a lot of kids. And they all know how to read.
Yes. We did a
Wow,
lot of reading in this house
Why?
because I love books and reading.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. It was really great talking to you.
Lisa, you're the one who told us we should have a reading challenge.
Yes.
Yes.
You remember that? You participated in the walking challenge. You're a big fan of all of our challenges, but you said you need to have a reading challenge. So, what inspired you to tell us that we need to have a reading challenge?
Well, I think in the beginning, I wouldn't have said that when you were doing the sprint challenge. But then over the year, as your challenges became more whole person, I felt that the reading needed to be included in that.
Okay. So that gets into your passion for reading. So first of all, I want to know, outside of your family, you're a teacher. Tell us about teaching, how you got into that before you had kids and then after you had kids.
Yeah, so I kind of always knew I'd be a teacher. When I was like 5, I played teacher all the time. I was the teacher. Um, I went off to college thinking I was going to study engineering. My plan was I'll just study the engineering, then later become a teacher. And we got to the bookstore and I said, nope, I'm not doing that class. So that was the end of that. And so then I ended up transferring and went right into early childhood education. So
Oh,
I've
cool.
taught first grade and kindergarten.
So the engineering thing, you didn't do that because you were afraid to drive trains or because
Exactly.
of the
Attaboy,
schedule?
Well, I
attaboy.
will say, as a parent of kids going to college, when I go to these tours, they're big on saying, if you're going to major in engineering, you have to know it ahead of time. And I'm like, but nobody knows what engineering is. So
Yeah.
how can you commit to that? I think that was
Okay.
part of my problem. I didn't really know what it was.
This sounded cool.
So what inspired you to go into early education?
Yeah, so I thought I was going to be elementary. But in Maryland, elementary covers 1st through 8th. And they said, if
Okay.
you think you want to teach kindergarten, you should go early childhood. So that's birth through 3rd grade. And I knew I was always with the younger kids. So I knew that was the way I wanted to go.
Anything from your childhood, like when you were in elementary school, that made you know that you wanted to do little kids?
No, I just think I've had a lot of experience. I did a lot of babysitting,
Uh-huh.
worked at the playground here in Sherwood, playground director. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
lot of experiences at that age.
Would you make fun of Matt if you found out that he called it kindergarten and not kindergarten?
No, I think that's actually something a lot
Okay.
of people say.
All right, good.
Yeah.
And I would never do
It's
that.
okay, Matthew.
And if you did make fun of me, I would cut that out.
So that is me, and I also
That is
say
you.
I also say
Yes.
Valentine's Day, and people are like,
Ah.
"What are you talking about?" But it's these words. I think I missed out on something in,
No,
in
you
kindergarten.
do say kindergarten, and then what's the watch that Apple makes? What's that called?
The Apple Watch.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
He calls it the Apple Watch.
Well, I don't know about that one because that's more recent. But I think when little kids say
I know,
something wrong,
no.
it's so
Ty
cute.
still says it. Ty still says it. Ty still says Valentine's Day.
I know, but I'm
and
saying 'cause
kindergarten.
when he's little, it's cute, and so nobody wants to
Exactly.
correct him.
Thank you.
They don't want to
Thank you.
end that cuteness.
So
It
you're
ended for
saying
him a
It's cute
long time
now.
ago. Yeah.
I'm still adorable.
Yeah, you are.
Of course,
You are.
of course.
In your own way. In your own way.
So then you have 5 kids,
Oh,
right?
yeah, so I taught for 7 years,
Okay.
and then when I had my oldest, I stopped working, so I was home for 16 years.
Okay. And
And
then what was the big move back to working?
so actually during the virtual year, my
Uh-huh.
youngest was in 1st grade, and I was just sitting here watching everyone on their computers, and so I volunteered to help in his class virtually. So I would pull a reading group every day, and in the morning, I would pull kids who needed one-on-one extra help just through the computer. And then I was like, "Ooh, I think I'm ready to go back." So the next year, I did go back.
So
Uh,
was it because you no longer had any of your own, pupils living underneath your roof that were in kindergarten, or 1st grade? You're like, I got to get back out there
kind
amongst
of.
the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it was time to go back. Actually, the real story is that we have a major passion for Legos in this house. It's dimming as they age, but I started sorting their Legos, and it's very impressive. But I was spending 4 hours a day doing this during the virtual year, and I thought this may not be the best use of my time,
Right.
and perhaps it's time for me to go back to work.
Tell a little side story about Legos is because a lot of people, and I think it actually correlates with the popularity of podcasts and the popularity of listening to books on Audible. Sometimes it's like if you're not walking or you're not in the car, but you want to listen to the book, what do you do? Like, what do you stare at? And I think a lot of people are actually starting to play with Legos. And there's an NBA player who they actually asked him in an interview. They're like, "Is it true you play with Legos?" He's like, "No, I do not play with Legos. I build Legos."
Yep.
And I
Right.
think that's part of the reason is you do get in a situation, especially like a book on Audible. You just want to listen to the book, and you're like, "What do I
I
do
need to
with
do
myself?"
something.
Yeah.
Right.
Puzzles are also good for that, I think.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us about why reading at that level is so important. And I want to know a little bit with your experience teaching other kids, but also your own kids, how you deal with all the different learning techniques.
So I think something that's kind of going away is we really need people to read to their kids
Hmm.
starting from day one all the time. So I kept books. Well, I have a collection of over 10,000 children's books. So there are books everywhere in our house. But I would keep specific baskets of like the little board books everywhere. And so if someone got upset, I'd quickly pull my lap and just start reading to them. And it worked to calm them down. And we would spend hours reading the same books over and over and also new books.
Let's back up to 10,000
Yes.
books. Yeah. Let's not just
I try to
gloss
sit so you
across
can
that.
see this is the most of the chapter book section is in the room where I am sitting now.
So do you, in all seriousness, do you like run the Dewey Decimal System,
No,
at your house?
I have my own system. They're all by theme. So the theme
So
could be the
wait,
character like
so
Curious George.
The Lisa D Decimal System?
Yes.
All right, I like that.
Because like I have for example, right now that I've taken in my classroom is my whole collection of books about school because we just started back to school. So I keep the books by theme so that I can easily take them in and out of the library. And I have them all cataloged on an Excel spreadsheet so I can see what books I'm missing or already have.
Do people have to sign them out?
So if you want to borrow a book, I usually just take a picture of it so I can remember that you have the book.
Got it. All right.
Mhm.
I knew you had a lot. I had no idea it was 10,000.
Yeah, it's a bit of an obsession, but you know,
Yeah. Well, it's better than dolls. Dolls, like if you had 10,000 dolls sitting over your shoulder right now,
that's pretty
how freaky
creepy.
would that be? Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
creepy.
So have you noticed with 5 kids the difference between like you're reading to all of them when they're very young to the ones that maybe started reading on their own, versus the ones that maybe weren't as interested in reading without you?
Uh, I would say they all in this house had the same kind of trajectory.
Okay.
But also, this brings up a point that even when they start reading, you should keep reading to your children.
Yes. Yeah.
For one, you can read books that are above their level, so they're hearing better vocabulary. And when you're reading, you can kind of explain things along so that they might miss when they're reading on their own. And I've
Would you
also
read?
found,
Would you
oh,
read? Ty keeps having these books. Would you read them to Ty and I? Because there's a lot of those. It keeps Ty's like, oh, there's one about this monk in India. You should read. And I start reading. I can't understand it. So maybe if you read it to
I
us
see.
and you could explain, I'm thinking that's an idea.
I tend to think that some of the books, because I heard about the Instagram call out that we haven't commented. There's nothing wrong with your books. They're just not really my type of books to read. Mr. Lyman might be a good one to hear from. He's also into he had read that cold book a long time ago.
Right.
He's
Oh
been
yeah.
taking
Yeah.
cold showers for over 10 years
Yeah.
every day.
Okay.
So if you need some explaining from him, he was also a history and philosophy major. So
Okay.
yeah,
And wait, I'm sorry, Ty. We could cut this out. Do you have to refer to him as Mr. Lyman
I
in the
wasn't
House
sure.
of 10,000 Books?
I
I
wasn't
just want to know. I
on
think that'd
this.
be amazing.
I didn't get to tell you in the beginning that we have a family rule that you should never go on the local news.
Fair.
And I decided this was okay to go on because you guys are so worldwide that it
Right.
doesn't
Okay.
count as local news anymore.
Okay.
No. Yeah, we're
So
definitely
that's why I went with the
local.
more formal Mr.
Formal.
Lyman.
Okay.
I
All
just
right. I
wasn't
like that.
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
So
fair.
one thing you said concerned me. Do you
Okay.
think parents are reading less to their kids than they
Yes.
used to?
My evidence is a small sampling, but I think people are putting their kids on screens
Okay.
in an unusually large amount of time and reading less.
Don't you think that's across the board? I mean, don't you think adults as well
Adults are doing
are,
the
I
same thing.
mean,
Yes.
yeah, are reading less. So
Yes.
if they're reading less, then they're obviously reading less to their kids. And so,
I think it's going to have to be, and I feel like your viewers probably skewed before having kids or after having kids. So maybe we're
Hmm.
talking to the before people that they're going to have to consciously think about spending time to read with their kids and putting the phone on and the screens away. I think it's going to have to be a decision you
Wow.
make to do.
yeah.
So I'm interested in this. I'm going to only mention my two older kids because they're grown and flown. But my son Ryan, we read to all four of our kids in bed, all that kind of stuff. But my son Ryan fell in love with it, and it was like I was reading him Harry Potter when he was too young to read Harry Potter, but he liked hearing it. And then I guess I read him the first two or maybe first three, and then he was addicted. He read all the other ones, and Harry Potter was such a gateway to his reading everything. And he was a huge reader. Emma loved us reading to her. She never really made that jump where she loved reading until she was like 22 years old, 23 years old. And now it is her favorite hobby. Like she posts on Instagram her favorite books of the month. I mean, she is hilarious. She will call me when her book boyfriend dies. She's so sad. The guy in the book died. She's insane.
She is insane.
I feel like part of the problem, and like I'm trying not to get discouraged when my teens aren't reading that much, is that when you're in school, you have a lot of work to do. And I think my reading went down. And then once you graduate and you're out in the real world, that's a time when it could become a hobby
Sure.
again.
Sure.
When you get home
Yes.
from work and stuff like that. I think
And
also joining a book club really helps because it kind of makes you read a book each month and gets you into that.
are you inviting us to a book club?
Well, first of all,
How many are you in?
I'm actually only in one now actively, and it's only in the summer and it's open to everyone. So I think next year you guys should come to one of them.
Okay.
All right.
This would be perfect.
Yeah.
What do you do about kids, and this is more professionally, who are on the slower side of reading to make sure that they don't feel that they don't lose confidence in their ability to read? Like, how do you deal with that? Because everybody
So
everybody develops at different paces.
yes. So in my class, pretty much everyone is at that level. So it's just what we do, and nobody feels really badly because they're all kind of at that level.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think this is why in the younger years, just the read aloud thing, because then they don't realize they're still getting the benefits of the reading without them feeling bad about their level of reading. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So when I
And
was in first grade, the the kindergarten was different from where I went K through
Right.
up. And some kindergartens did a ton of reading. Mine did not do a ton of reading. And I came in and was, I guess, behind most of the class. And I had a blue reading book, and everybody else had a red reading book. And I was sent down the hall with a couple other kids to for spelling, reading, pencil grip, which was a whole fiasco. I never adjusted my pencil grip. I was stubborn. And the funny thing is my pencil grip is perfect for actually doing surgery, but it's horrible for preventing smudges.
Your penmanship is
And
Well, that
I
must be
think
why
atrocious.
they say doctors have bad penmanship, because they have their surgical hands instead of their
yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
He's like Edward Scissorhands.
But as a result, like I think I was aware that that I was behind in reading, but I do think that
Right.
that meant my writing was a little bit delayed and I didn't have as much confidence. And I'm wondering how do they deal with that kid now who is obviously intelligent enough but is behind for whatever reason.
So the bad news is for many years that leveled reading was a big deal. And there was a whole set where you'd say, like, I'm on a level H, I'm on level I, and you could compare. And the research has shown that that is not good for teaching reading. So, like the new curriculum we use, everybody reads the same thing. And you can offer more supports for kids. This is, in kindergarten, we're reading aloud the whole time. But like in the fourth grade, everybody's reading the same material. And maybe like some of the kids whose first language is not English, maybe they're pre-taught a lot of the vocabulary ahead of time so that they have that scaffold when they're reading the book. Or maybe they're reading with the teacher in the back to help with the words they're missing. So I think it's nice because nobody's behind reading these lower books while the whole class is learning stuff ahead of them. So I think they're trying to accommodate for that by giving everyone the same book and then just give different scaffolds.
If a kid can read another language and English is their second language and they're young at the age you're doing, is it like cooking with gasoline where they just pick it up super quickly, or is it a little bit harder?
Yeah, they do say research shows that the skills you have in your home language transfer over and make it easier in the second language. The age I teach, most can't read in their other language, but like we tell parents to talk to their kids and read at home, and it can be in Spanish. That will still help them in school with the
Got it.
English part.
Okay. And now, do you have any comments on the role of public libraries? Libraries. Libraries.
Beside, what do you mean? She's got one right behind her.
Lisa, can we talk about this? So I had a speech delay. I actually didn't speak at all till I was
God, the good old
3.
days. We
I
call
didn't
those the
speak
good old
until
days.
3. And
Oh,
I think it's
69 to
genetic
72
You've
was the
been shut
best.
up since.
Thank
one
you.
of my one of my
69 to 72, the glory years.
one of my kids had this. I had one kid who was very quiet her first 3 years, and then one kid who was like me. Roddy didn't talk at all till he was 3, like not even like making noises. And I think that's why my reading was a little bit behind. And I still get calls, like people will hear about that, and like somebody in the office might have a grandkid or a kid who's not speaking quickly and we'll be like, "Oh, call Dr. House, see what he says." I'm like, "I'm not an ENT. I don't know about hearing. I don't know what
Right.
it was, but for whatever reason, we were slow cookers in my family."
God, I miss
Well,
those days.
luckily, that's all that it was, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes not speaking is other issues. So I'm glad it was
Yes.
just that.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, but what about public libraries? What
I
is
mean,
the
I
role
think they're
of
great.
public library? Are they fading?
So
Are they
I don't think so. I think they've adapted to offering more services. I just got an email the other day that there's like 4 libraries in Anne Arundel County where you can sign out a fishing pole if you want to go
Oh, wow.
fishing.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of options. You can get like a hotspot from the library to borrow. Um, I actually, while I have 10,000 children's books, I do not like to buy adult books because I feel like I'm going to read it one time. So I get all of my books at the library. So I'm
Okay.
frequently going to the library for the books that I want to read.
And it's a lot easier to fit 10,000 children's books in
Correct,
your
because they're
house
a lot
than
skinnier.
10, right,
Yes,
than 10,000 chapter books.
yes.
What are your thoughts on Kindle and Audible at different ages? So basically early childhood, teenage, and adult.
I go back and forth on that. I personally really like having a book. I feel like
Mhm.
also, especially like if I was studying something, I can like remember in the book, like, oh, that information was on the top right page. So I feel like if you're in a Kindle, you're not going to have that. It's the same every time you look at it.
Right.
But if the choice is a Kindle or nothing, then I think a Kindle is probably a great idea. I do like that it can hold, a lot of books that you could travel with or head to the
Uh-huh.
beach or whatever. I think for an adult, it's more than fine.
Matt,
I've
do you have any opinions on Kindle versus
No, as Lisa said, as long as you're reading, it doesn't matter,
yeah.
right?
gotten into little things with people about the Audible. I
Uh-huh.
think it's great to listen to a book. I don't know that we should call it reading
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but um,
I I like Audible, and I mentioned this before. The problem is if you space out when you're reading a book, you're like, "Oh, I missed that paragraph." You go back. You
right,
space out on Audible, you have to hit rewind. But I do think for some kids with learning differences, it's a great
definitely.
sure.
option. The embarrassing thing about Kindle is when you're like, "Hey, did you read the book about whatever?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," or when you're telling somebody about a book, I'm like, "Oh, I just read a book about that." And you're like, "Oh, what's it called?" And you're like, "I have no idea. Who's the author?" I have no idea because you only see the name of the book and the
Right.
author
One
the
time,
first time you read it. Whereas when you pick up a book, you're
you're
looking at
looking at it
the
all the
the
time.
cover all the time. The other thing is like you have a library in your house or of children's books. Most people do have a little bit of a library somewhere in their house, and when this is what's happened to us is our favorite books, um, for Ann and I have been on Kindle for a long
Right.
time, 10 years. So when my son's wife now, but when they were boyfriend, girlfriend, she was an English major, got a master's in English. She comes to visit the house for the first time, and the books in our
Like you have no
bookshelves are
books.
all like things that we're not even into anymore. So
Right.
she, people do have a tendency to look at your bookshelves. And if you're always on Kindle, then your bookshelf doesn't say anything about you.
That's so
Maybe you
true.
need to make a poster of the list
That's
of
right.
books you've read each year next year library for people to visit and read.
Well, almost like if you read on Kindle and you love it, you should buy it. But then you're like that, then it's almost like a trophy. Like you got a trophy
Yeah.
for finishing
Right.
your book.
Yeah, we don't need that. We need another participation trophies around here.
No.
This is our 42nd
Correct.
podcast. And you're like, how is Ty so polished at only 42 podcasts? And Matt,
I-
here's a little story. When I was in my early years of high school, I didn't have my driver's license.
Yep, Lisa, take a drink. You smoke them if you got
Lisa's,
them.
Lisa's dad, Ronbo, would drive me from Annapolis to Baltimore for football practice my freshman and sophomore year. Before cell phones, it wasn't, I mean, it's 7 in the morning, but Rombo's not going to let you sleep on the way to football practice. We were talking. It was a back and forth, and it was just me and Rombo driving up to Baltimore talking about everything. And I'm telling you, if you could have recordings of that, that would be the ultimate podcast. Ronbo and 14-year-old me.
Love it. I love
So
it.
many comments. So many comments. And just for the people that aren't familiar, his real name is not Ronbo. Okay.
Yes, but you people all named him Ronvo, and it's
But I just wanted to be known that
So
his name
here's the
professionally
second,
goes by Ron. But
here's the second thing is Lisa, do you know why his name is Ronbo?
well, I think was it the thing about the party, or is that a different story?
That is why
Yeah,
so
you told me
probably
that the parties.
Matt was the instigator, but I was probably 16 or 17. So Matt would have been 16. And we got invited to a big birthday party. All of our friends were there, and my parents were out of town. And I was staying at my aunt and uncle, who were also out of town. And my cousin's aunt and uncle were watching us. And we decided to go pregame at my parents' house where we were not supposed to be. And I don't think we were doing anything besides hanging out. If we had beer there, we had 4 beers and 8 people. Like it was not anything crazy or big, but your dad busted us and he got us out of there. And so then it was like Rambo. So that's why we started calling him Rambo.
Oh,
and
I didn't
now,
know the Rambo. That makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he really likes the Rambo. Like he had the license plate that said Rambo, and that's what people call him. Everybody calls him Rambo now.
Now, what Rambo
And
doesn't know until he watches this podcast is Matt, what happened after he busted us up? What
I don't
happened after
remember.
we drove around the
I
block and went
know.
right back.
I know. I was trying to be nice. And then, and as a peace offering, we gave your mother a watermelon, and she fell in love. First time she ever had watermelon, and she loves watermelon ever since then. And so, the rest is history.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so now we are going to put each other on the spot. I do want to know your go-to favorite books at each stage. So, like when
Okay,
you're
well, first of all, I
reading to
just
your
want to say because I
kids,
didn't get this in earlier. I don't know. I'm sure you guys already know this, which is why you picked today. Today is actually the International Literacy Day.
No
I
duh,
figured that.
Lisa. I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah,
that's I
I
mean,
figured that's
I'm
why
a
you
little
picked.
embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed. You know, you had brought that up as if we didn't know.
I mean, yeah. Um, okay, so first of all, I'd say I'll say some, but it is hard to have favorites when you have 10,000 books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
All right. So,
um,
what? Give us your favorite books.
really young, I love Byron Barton. If I knew, I could have brought examples of all these, but his illustrations are really simple. So he wrote like a book called Planes, Trains. These are all individual books. My Car. They're very simple, and when they were little and they don't have a long attention span, my kids love those. I can't remember which, but one of them at around age 2 was screaming in the car one drive home, going, "I want Byron Barton," which I was sure no 2-year-old had ever yelled and
Yeah.
screamed like
Yeah.
that. But so I really liked those for younger kids. Um,
Was he
a lot
around
of
when we
times
were a
you'll see.
kid? Is he a newer writer or is he famous from way back when? I
I
don't.
don't know that he's even famous. I think if
Okay.
you saw his book,
Only in the Lyman house.
you would
Okay.
know it. It's like they're just really simple, like almost like cutouts of the items.
Okay.
But a lot of board books. So when you have your little babies and you say, "Oh, I'm going to get a board book," well, if they've just taken a book and made a board book of it, that doesn't really make it necessarily great for babies because it might be a longer story. They'll take like
Yeah.
a story that's for older kids and just make a board book. So if you look at board books that have really simple language, rhymes, for the like toddlers.
Like Go Dog
Um,
Go.
yes, the Go Dog Go is actually a pretty long book.
Okay. I love that book.
Of
I
course you do.
love that book too. And my kids
Okay.
love the part when the dogs are in the party in the tree, of course.
Oh, that
And
is a great
also,
part. Yeah.
we quote, "Do you like my hat? No, I do not like your hat. Goodbye, goodbye," all the time.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I didn't bring this up before. One of the things I love about reading aloud to the kids is then you have this shared experience,
Right.
right? So I can quote Go Dog Go and everybody in the house knows what I'm talking about. Um, there's a chapter book series called the Wayside School Books, and it's very silly, a lot of puns. So for a few years, we would read that at the beginning of the school year every year. And it wasn't like this high quality literature, but it just gave us this shared experience of a funny book about school. So that's a little bit older. That's like a fourth or fifth grade type book, but you could read it to younger, like we talked about.
So you quote children's books like I quote Rocky movies.
Correct,
I knew we
correct.
had something
And
in
I have a
common.
lot more children's books than there are Rocky movies. So
And well, maybe that would help Ty figure out your origin story because Ty likes to spread rumors about you and all of your accomplishments.
I'm here for the rumors.
Yeah.
I have to say, there was in our local publication of the Green Sheet, someone was going to put something which I told him I did not want in there. And if he put that, it would go against all the rumors. So I was like, we cannot have that in published because people need to keep hearing these great rumors about
And
me.
to clarify, I thought she ran all the book clubs, and then I thought she did all these things. She's like, "Where do you get these ideas?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I just
Well,
thought
I
that's
was
what
the
I remember."
manager for lacrosse
Okay.
and I have a championship ring because I was the manager at Maryland when they won. So
Oh, so Matt, do you have a favorite book that you read to your girls, or that you remember your parents reading to
Um,
you when you were that little age?
when I was real little, Richard Scarry books.
oh, yes.
Those are the books I remember reading. Reading to my girls. I love doing Shel Silverstein,
Oh
like
yeah,
poems,
yeah.
and we like memorize a couple of them, along the way. So yeah, those are the ones that I remember for
I
me
think
and for
both
the
of you,
girls.
this would have been a great book for you guys if they had had it. It's The Book with No Pictures by BJ Novak, who was a writer for The Office. And it makes the reader say all these silly words and sounds to get the kids to laugh. I think the two of you would do an excellent job reading that book.
Okay.
There you go.
So is one of my favorite books when I was that age, which might be a little bit older, is To Think That You Saw It on Mulberry Street. I just remember
Yes,
that book and loved it, and I know that it got canceled because of one panel of, The Man from
the
China
pictures.
was stereotypical, but it was such a good book, and I love the message of kinda like, even though the kid was making it up, kinda pay attention to what you see in the
Right.
world, and when I drive to work every day, like, and I'm looking at bumper stickers, and I'm looking at this person walking down the street and this person running down the street, I think of that book all the time, just that there's so much to see in the world.
And I think that's a great reason for why kids need to have more books. Because
Yeah.
like that, you read this book, 50 years ago, and it still impacts how you look at the world, which I think is so good.
Ty, what got you into reading?
Well,
I mean, because we all know you couldn't do it until you were 13,
so I
so
I
it's
did start to really like the Henry Higgins. So my parents read to me, and I liked that stage. And then I really liked the Henry Higgins and Rigsby books. Do you
yep,
remember those? And then I
Mhm.
went through a phase where, honestly, my dad loved the Hardy Boys, and
yep,
I think I started trying to read it too early. So it was very difficult for me,
Uh,
and I was like, I can't read that. And what I fell in love with was books like Football Players Do Amazing Things, Basketball Players Do Amazing Things, NFL Quarterbacks, which are written almost like in a Sports Illustrated way, but I wanted the information. And so I would read any sports book. And that was kind of like my fourth, fifth, sixth, even seventh grade years. And then by then I was reading fine. But I really like the Henry Higgins and Beatrice and Ramona and
right.
Rigsby. Are those still popular? Do you
I
know?
don't think they're popular. They are here behind me, but I feel like
Who was the writer?
probably people whose parents are intentionally like, I'm going to buy you these books because I had them. But I
Right.
think books are constantly changing, just like TV. So it's like, what's the latest character that comes
But
out
isn't
is
that so
more
funny
popular.
though, Ty? I mean, I had the series of Hardy Boy books, the blue cover,
Yeah.
thick ones, and I
Yeah.
was the same way. It was Hardy Boy books, it was Encyclopedia Brown, and then my dad traveled a lot and a huge reader, but I would get Sports Illustrated, when in the middle of the week, and he wouldn't be home yet, so I would just read Sports Illustrated cover to cover, and he'd be like, "Hey Matthew, who won the Super Bowl this year?" Because I haven't seen Sports Illustrated in like 3 weeks. I had them up in my room, but you know, it's funny though. That's you definitely see it. Or for me, I was like I saw it from my parents, both big readers, and then I found out that I enjoyed it and just kept going.
The other thing about those series that you were mentioning, those are really good for kids. I mean, they're great because we all like them. But one of the things that's nice about them is they have a kind of repetitive language. Often the first chapter is almost the same because it's kind of
Right.
filling you in. And so I think that can be really helpful scaffold for kids who are learning to read. Because then it's like, I already know these characters. I kind of know what's going to happen. Takes a little bit of the load off when they're trying to figure out the newer parts.
And Ty, yours is Judy Bloom. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. That's one of your favorites, isn't it?
But there was the one like, eat was Judy Blume the one Eat Fried Worms or something? I do remember Eat Fried Worms by Judy I think it was Judy Blume that
I
I
don't
just
know. Oh,
absolutely
hold on.
loved.
Hold on.
Oh,
Lisa's
I know
going
it's
to.
here, but I might not be able to
No,
place exactly where it
but
is.
Yeah.
was she also Super Fudge? And
Yeah, yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, she is that one.
yeah, yeah.
And
So,
then Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary were the 2 big ones.
That's right. That's it.
yeah.
Beverly Clearly.
The other book, so there's 2 classics that, 3 classics. The first group that I absolutely loved was The Adventures of Huck Finn and Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So I love those. I actually did a, independent study on that as a senior in high school, um,
Cool.
because I like those books so much on the works of Mark Twain, and I just thought they were so cool for a preteen to teenage boy to read. The other one, though, I think is interesting is I loved The Hobbit. So then you like, I love The Hobbit. I'm going to like the other Fellowship of the Ring books, but The Hobbit's actually a children's book, and the Fellowship of the Rings books are more of an adult book. So they were much more tedious to get through. I liked them as an adult, but as a preteen, once again, they sat on my bookshelf, and I was like, "What happened? I love The Hobbit. This is
Right.
super hard to read."
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great story. Uh, so Lisa, with your 10,000 books and your love of reading, have you ever thought about writing a children's book
I am
or any book?
I am really not a writer.
Okay.
Really, I'm not. I've thought of some ideas, but uh, I'll read an email from someone. I think, wow, that's so eloquent. But when I go to write email, it's like one sentence. Here's what I need to tell you.
What
So
would Jen Klepper say if she heard you say,
I
"I am not a writer"?
I think I've said it to her. I can't remember what she said, but I'm sure she'd say everyone
Oh,
could be a writer. So
no,
the
she's not
teacher in
that
me would say, of
supportive.
course, everyone could be a writer.
I think there's a children's book in there somewhere.
There's got to be.
Okay, so now we've talked about some good books. As an adult, what do you like to read? Is it more fiction? Is it nonfiction? And I'm
Mostly
gonna open this
fiction.
up to Matt also,
Okay.
because we
I
need to
like to
learn
read a
about
lot of
Matt.
fiction. And then sometimes I'll read, like right now, I'm reading a nonfiction because I heard it mentioned on a different podcast. Yes. And I thought I'd be interested in it. And I am interested in it, but it's much slower for me to read. So I feel like I'm like, oh, it's like almost more like work, which I chose. So it's fine. But fiction, I can read a lot quicker and pay more attention, I think.
Will you? I've asked this to Ty before. You're in a book. You're not. It's not connecting. Will you finish it?
I always finish them.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there's a book I suspect, I'll read like 2 or 3 pages and then stop. But once I'm in it, I'm in it. So I have
Yeah.
to finish it.
One book I want to mention again for preteen boys that all my kids love was Maniac McGee. Have you read Maniac McGee?
No,
Oh
I've
my
never heard of
gosh, it
that
is
one.
I'm gonna
so
write it
good.
down right now.
Yeah, so good. You got to read that. Even now, you got to read it. Matt, you should read it.
All right.
Get it tomorrow and read it.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I
God,
think
The
you
other
might
thing I do
boss
as
me
an
around.
adult is
you're a reading bully.
I keep a journal of all the books that I read. And I know
Okay.
there's like apps like Goodreads, but I think doing one of those either on paper or on the computer is nice because it kind of shows your life as a reader. And
Ah.
especially at this reading challenge for people who are just starting out, then they can say like, "Oh wow, look, in the whole year I read this many books." Um, I
What do you
like
think?
that.
What do you think your average amount of books a year you read?
I think it's like 40. When I wasn't working, it was much higher. It would be
Sure,
more
but
like
right now,
70. But now that I'm working, I have much less time. And since I'm a teacher, like after we're done here, I'll have to do work to get ready for tomorrow.
right?
So I have a lot less time to read.
Matt, do you read now more that the kids are older, or like now
Probably
that you have
the
more free
same.
time? About the
No, the
same.
same. Yeah, I'm a big reader. Usually an hour or so before I go to bed at
Okay.
night is usually when I do most of my reading. But then, like the next morning, if it's like the weekend and it's something I'm really into, I'll get right back to it. Um,
You
Is
guys
there
didn't say, do you guys read any fiction? I know that the ones you posted were nonfiction, but
when I got back into reading was reading a ton of history books, and I would get into one character that might be Ulysses S. Grant or Muhammad Ali, and like read everything about them. And then I got more into some philosophical books and stuff like that. And I just in the last year was like, I need to start reading fiction again. So I've kind of just started doing that again. And I like it. And so now I'm more like trying to alternate, like not read too much of one thing. I try to be like, I'm going to read a fiction, then I'm going to read a nonfiction, then read something philosophical type of thing.
so one fiction I think that you should check out is Frederick Bachman. I've liked every single thing he wrote. His first main thing was Beartown,
Yeah.
and then there's a series of 3 of
oh God,
those. And his
Yeah.
latest one was called My Friends this summer. And I will say this too. I also want to tell you guys that like you guys are in my head a lot, especially when I'm walking up a steep hill and I'm irritated at you for making me walk.
Yeah.
And when I read this book, it's kind of about like an 18-year-old and this like 40 something who meet. And the 40 something is constantly noticing like how the 18-year-old could just pop out of the chair and he has to like prepare to stand up. And when I read that this summer, like I could hear you guys talking about like all the work you're supposed to do now so that when you're older you can do all these
Get
things.
up.
So I
Yeah.
think you should read
our
that one. That
our
that
work is done. Our
So,
work is
yes.
done.
Just
But
so,
read
I don't
that.
want. But I don't want Ty to start talking about flipping Beartown
so
again.
Lisa, I have to
You
tell
read
the
Beartown?
Beartown story. So
Oh,
Lisa, I read Beartown maybe in the summer, maybe in the spring. It was after
it
Jen
was
Klepper
spring.
recommended it. So I'm reading, maybe I'm a quarter way through, and I'm like,
Ugh.
this is the greatest hockey book ever. Like I'm enjoying just reading about hockey, and I'm like, I want to play hockey. It reminded me of the movie Mystery Alaska about a hockey team. I'm like, this is incredible. And the end of the story is that Beartown's a great book. I'm so glad I read it. I loved it. But when it took the darker turn of I walked with Matt the next day and I'm like, you wouldn't believe it. It was a hockey book. I was enjoying a hockey book. I thought he was going to grow up and be Wayne Gretzky and it was going to be all
No.
great. And then there's this twist and it ended up being a great book. But the twist, I was not expecting it at all. There was no warning. And I was like, I can't believe Jen told me to read this book.
So let me tell you the other side of that story. So when we do our walks, we have a 3 mile loop that we'll usually do twice. And for 2 weeks beforehand, he kept talking to me as if we've never met before. He's like, "You're not gonna believe this book I'm reading. This guy's Beartown. He's a 17-year-old, and he's gonna fix the town. Everyone's gonna save it." I mean, I was like, "I got it, dude. I got it." Right? And he keeps talking, and he doesn't even realize I'm not even listening. Same thing again the next week. And then the third week, he's like, "You're not gonna believe this book. It took the worst turn." And I was so happy that he was so mad. It made me so happy.
Well,
And
often
it
I think
wasn't a
people will
bad
say,
turn. It was just, it was a, it
It was
was
just
a,
wasn't what you were looking for. You
it
didn't
was a
see it
sad
coming.
turn and
Yeah.
everybody got mad at it. And the kid had a huge life. Oh my God.
nonfiction where the topic of the book is horrible, right? And so someone says, "How was that book?" And you're like, "It's a great book because it was well written and you learn this topic, but the topic itself is horrible."
What are you reading right now?
I'm reading Hope in the Unseen about a boy from the inner city DC poverty who gets into Brown. So it's a
Oh,
real
cool.
this is the nonfiction one. Um, and he actually went the year after I went there, and he's in the same dorm. So it's kinda cool to read. I'm like, "Oh, I know what he's talking about, this place and that place." But
What are your thoughts on, like, with the school's summer reading list? Like, do you ever look at those lists and be like, "Hey, we're trying to get kids to read"? Like, I thought my reading list was pretty good growing up, but every once in a while, there'd be ones where it's like, they were so boring, it's like, "We're trying to get kids to read. Why'd you choose this one?"
yeah, I will say when I was a kid, I mean, it was terrible. We had
Yeah.
to, like, read it and write down 20 vocabulary words, and I read books, I have no idea what they're about, I just was searching for words to write down. And I think, yeah, wouldn't it have been better to have books that we actually were interested in? Um, there's also this a lot of these schools where they pick one book that the whole school has to read. And if it's a great book, that's great, but if it's not, then you have everybody coming in already talking about this
Mad.
terrible book,
Yeah.
or they didn't do it because it was so horrible. So I'm not sure that's a good way to get people to read.
That's what I remember. We had a list of you had to read, I think, 5 books every summer, and the whole school read the same 5 books, and some of them, like, I remember Watership Down thinking that was incredible. Remember a book called Man Child in the Promised Land, I thought was incredible. The Chosen was incredible, but then I remember Wuthering Heights, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." The book was horrible, the Cliff Notes were horrible, and is Cliff
Okay.
Notes even a thing anymore? Like, do they even
No,
sell
but
Cliff
here's the
Notes?
I think there's some technology that's similar of Cliff
Okay,
Notes, some site that you can look on. See, we read Wuthering Heights, but I went to the girls' school across the street, and that's the female author you just mentioned. So it might be that that was geared more towards I liked Wuthering Heights.
Right.
Some of those other that Watership Down, I never could get into that one. So I
okay.
think part of that's the problem is that we're all different readers. So if
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
school has to read one book, half might like it and half think it's terrible.
Yeah. Know
Yeah.
your audience.
Yeah.
Mhm. Matt, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading? I'm not reading. I swear to God, I thought about this earlier. I finished something over the weekend, and I was on my iPad and looking for something else to read. So I'm like, don't have anything right now. It's
Okay.
really weird,
Okay,
but I
I
like.
recommend always having a book ready to go when you finish the book before it.
I usually am like that, but I don't know.
Did you
Maybe it's
finish
back in.
did you finish the Earl Weaver book,
I did. I
and you
did.
loved it?
Yeah, it was like I did enjoy it. I like seeing a lot of the old names. It was just like a long magazine article. The way it was written,
Yeah.
but it was kind of neat. It was just kind of cool to see some of the old names that you and I know. Um, but I like to mix it up. I like to have a business book. I like to read a biography, and then mystery. So I like to kind of mix it up.
So with our reading challenge, all we're asking people to do is read 10 minutes a day.
Yep.
I feel
Right.
like that's a good start. Because honestly, I feel like once you sit down, if you're reading 10 minutes, there's a good chance that 10 minutes is
Keep
gonna
reading.
come into 20 minutes,
Yeah.
30 minutes, an
Right.
hour, whatever. And part of it is because Matt and I have both reached an age where you can go do your walk, but you can't like walk, play basketball, play tennis, keep moving all the time. Like you got to rest your body, and reading is the perfect way to do that. And we asked people to tell us what they're reading and maybe rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, say a couple sentences about it. But I've actually rethought that. I'm like, it's great to tell us what you're reading, but what really we need people to do is tell us their favorite book, like their book
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
most meaningful to them. And then we read that and we're like, oh, Lisa D says read Maniac McGee. I'm going to read Maniac McGee.
Got it.
So
I
that's
like it.
that's our challenge. What would if I said, Lisa, what would be your top 3 most influential books of your life?
My life?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know, that's pretty tough.
Or how about
I
just
would
your
probably I
how about the
think
phases of your life? Like I want to know your favorite book when you were a child, your favorite book as a teenager, your favorite book as an adult.
okay, when I was a really little kid, I loved the Berenstain Bears Go to School, probably in line
Sure.
with that whole
Yes.
being a teacher thing,
Yeah.
and I love to look at pictures of the classroom in the tree. Okay, that was the
Now, what's your favorite young adult book?
that when you guys were talking about series, I was big into Sweet Valley Twins, Sweet Valley Highs, which were definitely aimed at girls, I would say.
Because I've never
Uh,
heard of those.
yeah, and
Don't
also
lie.
you're much older than I am, so you were probably
Much.
already up in the high
Yeah.
school when it's time.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, those are the kind of it was about twins, Jessica and Elizabeth, and one of them loved purple. This was the kind of book where the first chapter is basically the same, and then but I remember waiting. I was waiting for each one to come out and go to the store to buy it at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, not the highest quality literature, but it was a big
You're
part of
reading. That's
the
all that
time then.
matters.
Yeah.
That's right. Um, I really think I'm gonna say I just love Frederick Bachman. All of his books I've been very pleased with.
Okay.
Which is sort of surprising to me because most of the books I read are written by women,
Huh.
and he is not, but obviously.
So I should read his ones after Beartown?
Well, if you liked Beartown, there's 2
I
more
did
in
like
that
Beartown.
trilogy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're all equally
Um,
good?
I thought so.
Okay, I will read
And
that.
then I also like he wrote Anxious People, that was pretty good. He also wrote The Man Called Ove, which is now like a Netflix thing, I think, or
Hmm.
HBO with Tom Hanks or something.
Okay.
Don't know it.
Um,
Haven't
yeah.
heard of that one.
He's from one of the Scandinavian countries, probably Sweden, I think. So these are all translations, but like Beartown
Awesome.
is translated. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, you've been fascinating. A lot of good stuff to think about, and it's been said before. I'm going to say it again. Reading is fundamental. I don't
It
care who
is.
trademarked it.
Yes. No, it's been great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this was fun.
There you go.
Well, thank you. That was
Thanks,
great.
Lisa. That was
Sure.
fun. A lot of fun. And
Thanks for
Ty,
having me.
thank you. How about us? Lisa, how about us?